everybody, welcome back. This is Peyton from Sovereign Self. I just wanted to pop on really quickly to do a VR response to Brian Cormack Carr's AM/PM tags. Um, I'm a little late being able to respond to this one. Unfortunately, life has been unusually busy for me in the last couple of weeks. But I did want to make sure that I did respond. If you are unfamiliar with Brian's channel or this tag, I will make sure to link his channel information in the description box below. So please make sure that you check out his channel. He's got some excellent videos on there. He does some really great deck walkthroughs, and he's had two fantastic tags, one of which is the one that I'm responding to today. His purpose in this tag was to discuss the practices that people who would attribute themselves to be tarot practitioners, pagans, people who sort of practice an alternative spiritual path, to sort of describe what practices you observe throughout the course of your day that would enable you to be consistent with your spiritual practice and to demonstrate sort of the kind of ways that you utilize and reflect on your spirituality, including tarot if you do use it, throughout your day. So the hashtags associated with this are hashtag AM/PM tarot practices, as well as hashtag AM/PM pagan practices. And Brian does describe that, you don't have to affiliate yourself in any way with a pagan label. It can be for really any spiritual path, but just to really describe how your spirituality impacts you throughout the course of your day. I suppose you could label me pagan. I don't necessarily know that I label myself anything, to be perfectly honest. I qualify myself as a fairly eclectic practitioner. My spirituality draws from a large number of sources, and I do incorporate aspects of that throughout my day. In a broad sense, I do follow the wheel of the year, so I do follow a seasonal observance. And part of my practice does relate to that, and I'll touch on that a little bit more as I discuss this. But I'm going to sort of mash those two together because my spiritual practices and my tarot practices do merge throughout the course of my day. So I just thought I would do kind of like a quick day in the life of, just to sort of demonstrate what my day looks like in terms of practice and how I utilize and how I integrate my spirituality into the functions of my day. So the first thing that I do in the morning, I get up reasonably early. I get up at 6. I get up with my husband. Right now, I have the luxury of not working. I'm a registered nurse, but I'm in the process of going through immigration in Canada, and so because of that, I have to wait to work until all of my immigration process has gone through. So for right now, I'm at home, and that does give me a lot of leeway in terms of being able to work extra things in my day. But like I said, I get up at 6 with my husband. I get up. The first thing that I do in the morning is I make my bed. To me, making the bed is about the most spiritual thing you can do over the course of a day. It really sets the tone for an orderly day. It gets you in the process of moving, and it accomplishes a task really early. So you can kind of walk out of the room and see the room clean and be like, okay, that's one thing down. Um, but to me, when I go back at the end of the day and I get in the bed and the bed is clean and neat and orderly, it really helps me in terms of my mental status. It helps me come down from the day. It helps me be comfortable. It just feels good to get into a neat bed at the end of the day. So first thing, my feet hit the floor, I make the bed before I do anything else. The second thing that I do is I do spend a brief moment at my sacred space. which has some decorations and things that are very personal to me. And I light 2 candles and I will burn incense, and I do incense the space and just spend a moment in reflection and thanks. And then my time in the bedroom is done and I head out. The first thing that I do in the morning is I tidy up anything in the kitchen that might need tidying, and I go ahead and I make my husband's lunch for the day. Um, I could do it the evening before, but honestly, to me, like, this is one of those little things that helps me to be mindful of being, I don't want to use the word servant because that's not what I mean, but to be in service to somebody else. So for me, the process of getting up and making my husband's lunch for him, which he used to do for himself and he would let me sleep. But I to me, to get up with him, spend that extra time in the morning, I make his lunch. That's sort of my act of love for him to start the day. Um, so I'll pack his lunch and tidy up if there's anything that needs tidying in the kitchen. Um, I tend to be a fairly tidy person, um, not really by instinct or by nature, but just because I've found over time that I function better in a clean space, and I'm very aware of the amount of mental clutter that comes along with my physical space being cluttered. So I've developed the routine of making sure that I keep things tidy as I go, and it relieves a lot of my personal stress. So I'm not feeling anxious that my space is messy, and that's something that's really important to me. So, along with making sure that the lunch is finished, I get the kitchen tidied up and make tea. So we have tea. I send a thermos of tea with my husband to work. I have my cup of tea, and then he heads off to work. And my morning, I like to spend quietly. So the first thing that I do is that as I'm having my tea, I do a daily tarot draw. And this is not something that I've always done. I've sort of integrated this more recently, partly to be able to spend some hands on time with decks that I maybe have not had the amount of time that I would like to spend with them. So I've kind of dedicated a deck a month, and I will do a tarot draw and an oracle draw in the morning. And that allows me to spend that extra time with those decks, but it also allows me to focus on what energies I need to concentrate on for that day and just sort of set the tone. So I have my tarot draw and my oracle draw. I'll record those in my planner. For those of you who watched my VR to Brian's Tarot Tools Trio video, you'll know that I use Benebell Wynn's Metaphysician's Day Planner, which I recommend 100% to anybody. It's a fantastic tool. But I will jot down my tarot and oracle cards for the day and maybe some brief observations or something like that. I spend morning time in my planner, so part of my day is making sure that I have a structure, and that hinges on my spiritual desire for mindfulness. So I know a lot of people practice a mindfulness practice, and that's something that I have found over time is what really keeps me going in a positive way. I am somebody who can really sort of rush through my day and be really oblivious to the things around me. So I've made a conscious effort to incorporate that spirit of being mindful. And my planner time is a big part of that. So I like to map out the essential things that I need to do for the day. I do spend some time in some active meditation. I do meditate in the mornings. I spend some time meditating on gratitude and thankfulness, and then I do just some mindfulness meditation. Um, if you are looking to incorporate meditation into your life and you don't know where to start, or if you are a novice at meditation, one thing I would like to recommend is there is an app called Calm. And I've been using this app for 2 or 3 years now. I've lost track. Um, but this app is absolutely fantastic. It gives a wide selection of little short, like 14, 15-minute guided meditations. It does have non-guided meditation. It You kind of have the background nature sound. So if you're somebody who struggles with staying on track and just like sitting in meditation, if you find that difficult and you're looking for something that's going to give you some guidance and maybe some structure, definitely look into the Calm app. I've also heard people recommend Headspace. I don't have any experience with that one, but I have heard it highly recommended. But for me, the Calm app is absolutely fantastic. So I do a meditation from that every day, and then I also do some additional meditation on some different topics. And then after that, I do a daily yoga practice. So I do roughly half an hour of yoga. Um, and for me, part of that is just because obviously, the health benefits of physical activity. It enables me to incorporate the mindfulness into my physical body, being aware of my body and movement, my body in space, the connection to the breath, being able to incorporate the sense of spirit into your physical movement. But it also holds me accountable. So I'm somebody who will really quickly let things go, and I will get very lazy. Like I'm being completely honest, I can be the laziest human ever. If I just couch and blanket and cup, then I could be completely happy and I could waste days that way. So for me to have the order and the structure, the discipline of the meditation and the yoga and those things during the morning to sort of get me going. And then it's one of those, it's like nobody ever wants to exercise, but then after you do, you're like, okay, I feel fantastic. I don't know why I put this off. And I always feel so much better after my yoga practice. Right now, I'm doing yoga with Adrienne, who has a YouTube channel. And if you are a yoga practitioner and you are not familiar with her, I will link her as well in the description box. Um, she is amazing. I would highly recommend any of her yoga materials. She's a fantastic teacher. Um, Now, I'm not a spring chicken necessarily anymore. I turned 42 in a couple of weeks, um, and so for me, I've begun to notice those, that sorry if you heard that loud rumble. We've got some construction in our neighborhood, and they are literally dynamite blasting. And so my nerves are kind of shot because 3 or 4 times a day I've got dynamite going off in my neighborhood. It's horrifying. But anyway, the yoga practice really helps me to work through a lot of the kind of aches and pains and little things that you start to associate with age. And I've noticed, the improvement in my physical body, making sure that I hold myself accountable to my yoga practice. And it does something for your stress level. It's able to take all of that stuff in your head, and you can just let it roll off. So when I'm done with my yoga, like, I feel energized, I feel centered, I feel very grounded, and I feel ready to do anything else that I need to do that day. So throughout the rest of my day, it's just sort of like, what tasks do I need to do? What errands, do I need to go to the store? What do I'm cooking for dinner? Those kinds of things. But I find that I'm able to move through my day with an increased sense of mindfulness. I pay attention to the things that I'm doing in the moment, and I spend less time with the static in my head. Now, this is something that I particularly struggle with. I don't know about other people, but I can really go there and let myself get lost in the what ifs and maybes. And so mindfulness really helps me to stay focused on the moment, move with intention, act with intention. And by doing that, I'm sparing myself a lot of unnecessary stress and clutter that I would have otherwise, because I could be there in nothing flat. So I'll go throughout the rest of my day. We have dinner. My husband will come home. We'll have dinner together. We'll sit talk, we kind of chill a little while in the evenings. Um, I'm usually will make tea in the evening at sometime after lunch, early evening, or after dinner, early evening. I've actually got some right here, and I'm going to talk about this tea specifically, and I'm going to get some. Mm. Uh, for myself, my husband does not drink this, but for myself, I like to make a cup of homemade chai, and I'm going to give you my recipe. I'm going to leave it in the description box as well. But this is no joke chai. This is going to warm your soul. It makes you feel amazing. You could drink this in hot weather, cold weather, doesn't matter. Um, I'll just briefly go over the recipe. I'll leave it like I said, in the description box. But to me, to sit down in the evening and just sit with this and let the spice, I don't know what it does. It helps me, it calms me, it makes me feel warm and happy. It's fantastic. So what you will need, 3/4 of a cup of milk. Um, if you are a vegan, use whatever milk that you are comfortable cooking to a boil. I have made this before with almond milk, and it did not turn out very well. It had a really kind of weird, gritty texture. I use dairy products, so for me, this is just regular milk. But if you are vegan, use whatever milk you're comfortable cooking that you know will cook down to a correct texture. So 3/4 of a cup of milk, 3/4 of a cup of water, and 1 heaping teaspoon of loose chai mix. And it's very important, loose and not bagged. Um, the point of this is that you're going to be cooking the loose spices and tea and infusing that into your liquid. I have tried this with bagged. It does not taste the same. So if you don't know anywhere where you can buy a loose chai mix that has like the whole spices, it has the cinnamon and the cardamom pods. If you don't have that locally, then I Google and you can find some recipes, and I would advise you to make your own if you don't have some readily available. Um, but you take the milk, the water, your spice mix. I use a heaping teaspoon because I like mine a little bit on the spicy side. You're going to put that on the stove top high, bring it to a rolling boil. Do not walk away. This is a milk product. It will boil, and as soon as it boils, it froths, and then you're going to scrub your stove top, and you're going to hate yourself because your kitchen's going to smell like burnt milk. So do not leave it. Keep it at a stir. Bring it immediately to a rolling boil, and then turn it all the way down to as low as your stove will go. And you want to simmer it for 5 minutes. Now, you don't have to continue to stir. I do, because if you let it sit, especially if you use a high-fat milk, you're going to end up with a milk skin. So I like to keep mine stirred, and it just sort of, the process of stirring is kind of relaxing. So after your 5 minutes, you're going to take it off. You're going to pour it through a strainer to strain out your loose spice. Pour it into your cup. Sweeten it however you like. If you like it plain, that's good. I use turbinado sugar. You can use honey, any sweetener that you like. But this stuff is warm. It's soothing. It's stimulating to the soul, and it's the best thing in the world. Mine also has coconut in it, which is great. So then we're at the end of the day. We're getting ready to unwind. What I do is I'll revisit my planner. I make sure that I've accomplished the tasks that I need to do. If there's anything that I think of that I need to schedule ahead, I'll add that in at that point. I'll revisit my tarot draw for the day, see how those energies affected my day, and maybe make some notes on some things I need to do to address that in preparation for the next day. Um, and then that's my day. For me, really, the aspect of being mindful is my practice. Now, like I said, I'm an eclectic practitioner. My inspirations and my spiritual influences come from a fairly wide variety of places. Um, but my spiritual goal is to be and to experience being. And I talked in the beginning of the video about the wheel of the year and the experience of the seasons. I want to be mindful of my body in nature each day, to observe the changes, to feel the weather, to feel how you feel in, in space. Do you feel the wind? Is it sunny? Is it raining? All those things, you let your body become attuned to the state of nature, and that all incorporates into being present and mindful and active in your body and in your spirit as a living part of the living whole. So above and beyond that, like, it varies. Some days, I do some personal ritual type practices and other things, but as a day to day, my practice isn't complicated. It's more focused on making myself aware of the things that I need to be aware of. And I've found that the more I allow myself to experience through being mindful, being present, then the happier and more gratified I am as a person. And I think the better that I am as a person in relation to other people, which is ultimately, I think the highest goal that you can have: be the best person you can to other people. And then you're the best person you can be. So that's my VR for Brian. Sorry this is so late. Again, it's been a couple of crazy weeks. If you happen to be watching this and you have not, again, check his channel, watch his video, and do a VR if you have not already. Like I said, Brian's channel is fantastic. Highly recommend it. And I'd love for you to pop into the comments if you have any questions, any comments, you want to know anything more specific about the things that I do, or if you have questions about how I cook chai, whatever. But yeah, I really enjoy the conversations. I love reading the comments, so please feel free to drop me a comment. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.